All right, it's good to see you. Let's talk about the Denver Broncos during their 2019 offseason. The media has been bashing John Elway for the past couple of weeks. I almost didn't make this video because I didn't want to join in and be part of that bashing. All of the name-calling nonsense and all of the Elway ripping apart I could do without. I actually like Elway. I liked him as a player. I liked him as an executive during the early part of his Denver Broncos tenure. Here lately, the past 2 or 3 seasons, he's really struggled. So I almost didn't make this video because I just could do without all the nonsense and the piling on and all of the extracurriculars and the dramatic headlines that people seem to be putting together about Elway. Having said that, in this case, the media and the fans are right. This decision to trade for Joe Flacco is a really bad one for 3 different reasons. We'll get to that in just a second. It was really bad. Today we're going to analyze it and look at, not just for drama's sake, but actually analytically, why was it so bad? I'm going to start off with this, the actual cap number that Joe Flacco is making. He has left on his deal, it's not a new deal, he has left on his deal 3 years and $63 million. The cap hit for this upcoming season, 2019, is going to be $18.5 million. Listen, Joe Flacco has never been a top 10 quarterback. That is top 10 quarterback money. If an elite quarterback were to hit the free agent market today, which of course he never will, but if he were to hit the free agent market today, he would be making a lot more than that. Anybody else, a top 10, top 12 quarterback, is going to be making somewhere in this neighborhood of $18.5. It only gets worse at $20 million next season and $24 million the season after that, which is absurd money for Joe Flacco to be making. At this point in his career, Joe Flacco is nothing more than a game manager, and really that's all he's been for the past 5 seasons. The year that they made the Super Bowl run, he had basically what was a career year for him. He was not an elite quarterback then. He was a good quarterback that year. He was part of a good offense that year with John Caldwell really calling the plays and doing a tremendous job that season, really hitting all the right notes. The defense was playing good as well. They just really played all the right notes that year as a team. But Flacco has never been an elite quarterback. The past 5 seasons, he's been a below average quarterback. He is not even in the middle third of quarterbacks in the NFL the past 5 seasons. This year, he didn't play bad, but still not good enough to not be unseated by Lamar Jackson as the Ravens took off on what was a very good playoff run for the first time in quite a while. So for Joe Flacco to be making $18.5 and $20 and $24 is just ridiculous. You're not going to get anywhere near that kind of production. And listen, I hate to overpay for a player, any player, even an elite player. Elite players are not worth $20, $25 million a year unless they're a quarterback, and even then, it's quite a burden to work through for a team under the NFL cap structure as it currently sits. But I would much rather have seen the Denver Broncos overpaid for an elite player in free agency at defensive end or at cornerback or at left tackle or at anything other than an average, below average quarterback, which is what Joe Flacco is. Listen, I would love to have Joe Flacco on my team, but I'd like to have him as a backup quarterback. I do not want him as a starter. He would be the perfect backup for any team in the NFL. That's what I think he was heading toward. It looked like the Ravens were going to release him. I did not think that they could find any trade partner for him, not even a 7th round pick. I didn't think they could get for him. John Elway turns up and gives them a 4th round draft pick. I think Flacco would have made an excellent backup quarterback. Would have even been willing to pay him maybe $6 or $7 million for that for a couple of seasons. And that's not what the Broncos are doing. They have hauled him in at $18, $20, and $24 million. So that cap number, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Number 2, the cap flexibility. Right now you have $37 million in cap space, which is decent. That's not bad. But before you traded for Flacco, you had $55 million in cap space, which is a lot more room to play with. You can be a lot bigger player in the free agent market, not necessarily going and wasting that money and overspending it, but that would have been better, as I said before, than doing this and investing all that money in one spot which you know you're not going to get the productivity for. You just know that you're not going to get that out of Joe Flacco. He has never played up to that kind of money and probably never should have had that kind of contract in the first place. But coming off that Super Bowl win, of course, the fans and the owner, too, probably would have run you out of town had you tried to let Joe Flacco go and not sign him to top quarterback money after he wins a Super Bowl for you. So that Super Bowl is really a bit deceptive as to how good a player Joe Flacco is. So those are the two reasons, cap number and cap flexibility, that I hate this deal. And number 3 is the draft pick. Listen, I said this before, I didn't think that Joe Flacco was tradable. With his production levels and these cap numbers, I didn't think the Ravens were going to be able to find anybody to trade for him, that they were just going to release him straight out. That's what the Ravens were going to do. I think they would have been happy had they gotten a 7th-round draft pick out of this. And the Broncos have given them a 4th-round draft pick. Listen, a 4th-round draft pick has quite a bit of value. You're not guaranteed to get a great player, but you can often count on, after 2 seasons, getting a quality starter out of a 4th-round draft pick. Not all the 4th-round draft picks work out that way, but there's a lot of value there at the 4th-round spot. The Broncos gave that draft pick up, when really, if they had wanted to, they could have waited until Flacco had been released and then tried to get into some kind of a bidding deal if they really wanted him on the team. Now, if for these reasons the deal was so awful and so miserable and so horrible, without calling a bunch of names, why did John Elway decide to do it? And here's what I think that he was looking at when he brought Joe Flacco on. Number 1, you do have an experienced game manager quarterback who has won a Super Bowl. And that's the really big thing that fans who love Flacco really stick to. This guy has won a Super Bowl. It's the same kind of thinking that introduces you to giving Nick Foles a lot of money, which he will make at some point, because some team will give him a lot of money. Just because the guy has won a Super Bowl does not mean he's worth throwing a lot of money at. It also does not even mean that he's worth being a starter on your team. But that's what Elway is looking at. So here's a guy who's won a Super Bowl, has some experience, at least knows what it's like to win, at least probably will not hurt me in terms of giving the game away. He should be a decent, solid, halfway game manager type of a quarterback. The other thing that I think Elway was probably looking at by trading, and again, I would not have done this, it's a terrible deal, but by trading for Joe Flacco, the dead cap hit now, if Elway decides, oh my goodness, this is the worst deal ever, if he decides to release Joe Flacco, he can do it and take no dead cap hit at all. There is no penalty for releasing or trading Joe Flacco at any point if the Broncos decide to do that. Had they signed Flacco after he was released by the Ravens, had they signed Joe Flacco to some kind of a 2-year deal, there would have been a certain amount of dead cap hit come along with it, probably $7, $8, $9 million, something like that. So maybe Elway was thinking, by trading for him now, I don't have to bid for him and then get locked into that dead cap space. This is a bad deal, and I don't want to bash Elway for this, but this is a really bad deal all the way across the board. At least the only opening salvo for you at all, if you decide to change it, you can let him go, and there is no penalty. All that dead cap space went to the Ravens when they traded Joe Flacco away. All right, so that's it. We'll take a look at the Broncos later. Hope you have a good day. Thank you. Bye.